It's amazing how quickly time passes by. I've always had this intention of wanting to tell my story. It's a pretty crazy one, and there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about what happened. For me, I remember it like it was yesterday. On Sunday, March 14th, 2021, I woke up early and ready to run my first ever trail race, the Alice Falls Half Marathon. That week, I had been experiencing headaches that were thought to be caffeine withdrawals. Little did I know that would change my life forever. That morning, the race started out great. I felt fast out there. However, everything changed when I got to the end and crossed the river. That's when the headaches came back and the story really begins. Stubborn as always, not finishing the race was never an option. I crossed the finish line and made it to my car. That's when I started seeing things in my vision. I had no choice but to drive myself to South Salem, where my folks took me to the Salem Hospital. It was at the hospital where doctors scanned my brain and found a cyst. The shocker was the MRI image and the severity of the condition I was currently in. An ambulance was dispatched and I was immediately transported to the Kaiser Sunnyside Medical Center. There they explained to me that I had hydrocephalus, a condition in which excess fluid builds up in your brain causing excessive pressure. Left untreated would be potentially fatal. I was given two options: either put a drain tube in my head and wait a few days for surgery, or go in that night. Doctors explained the risks involved with such an extensive surgery. The one I remember the most was not being able to make new memories. Such a scary proposition given I had two young kids. I knew having a drain tube coming out of my head for a couple days was not an option. My only option was to go through with it that night. I spoke with my wife and relayed my wishes in the event I woke up as a veg. They then wheeled me down to the basement and into the neurological surgical room, where then I was prepped for surgery. They then started going through the script of how the surgery would proceed. That's when they hooked me up to the oxygen and anesthesia and had me count down from 10. At 3 is when I passed out and everything went dark. I remember waking up on the table with lights in my face. It was about 4 a.m. in the morning and surgery had just been performed. Doctors then proceeded to ask me various questions to see if I was still there. I was then wheeled back upstairs for post-op recovery and rest. It's hard to explain the emotions felt during those early morning hours. Between trying to process what just happened and the hourly medical checks, I knew this would be a defining moment in my life, one where I'd get a second chance. This feeling would become my superpower. That morning I woke up and knew I needed to start chasing buckles. The thought of it still scared me, but the thought of never trying scared me even more. Most people think I'm crazy. Why would you want to run 100, 200 miles? Well, most people haven't stared death in the eyes. When you come out of something like that, it changes you, gives you a different perspective on life. For me, these races give me something to look forward to. It gives me a sense of purpose, and they are hard. There's nothing like being in the middle of a multi-day race and getting to the finish line. You leave the societal matrix and come back a mentally stronger person, and it makes everything else in your life less hard. So yeah, I had brain surgery at 37, and from there I started chasing ultras. It's a pretty crazy story, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way.